A new royal debate is once again putting Queen Camilla, Princess Diana, and Prince William at the center of one of the most emotional discussions around the modern monarchy. This is not just about palace rumors or old headlines being repeated for attention. It is about the long list of moments that Diana herself spoke about, moments that became part of royal history, and moments that many believe William never forgot. For years, the public has watched Camilla rise from one of the most controversial women in Britain to the wife of King Charles and eventually Queen. But for many Diana supporters, that rise never erased the past. The argument now being discussed is that Camilla's past with Charles and Diana did not simply disappear because she was crowned. It remains in books, interviews, tapes, photographs, timelines, and public memory. Diana spoke about much of it while she was alive, and because she documented her pain in such a direct way, the monarchy has never fully been able to bury the emotional record. William was a child when many of these events happened, but he became a teenager walking behind his mother's coffin. That image shaped a generation, and it also shaped the man who will one day become king. The first act royal watchers often point to is the return of Charles and Camilla's relationship in the mid-1980s. Diana was still married to Charles, still raising William and Harry, and still trying to understand whether her marriage could be saved. According to well-known royal accounts, this was the period when Diana realized that the old connection between Charles and Camilla had not truly gone away. For Diana, this was not an abstract betrayal. It was happening inside her home, inside her marriage, and inside the family she was trying to protect. That is why this moment still matters. It was the beginning of a pattern that Diana later described in her own words. She was not simply fighting another woman for attention. She was trying to hold together a marriage in which she felt she was never the only emotional presence. And when William later grew up, the knowledge of what his mother endured became part of his understanding of the family he was born into. The second major moment came before the wedding, with the famous bracelet. Diana discovered a bracelet that Charles had arranged for Camilla, engraved with private initials connected to their personal nicknames. For Diana, this discovery was devastating because it came just before she was expected to walk down the aisle and marry the Prince of Wales in front of the world. She reportedly considered ending the wedding, but was persuaded to continue. That moment remains powerful because it shows Diana's pain before the marriage had even begun. The public saw a fairy tale bride. Behind the scenes, Diana already felt there was someone else in the picture. Years later, William chose Diana's sapphire engagement ring for Catherine, and that choice carried a very different message. Camilla received a private token hidden inside a complicated relationship. Catherine received Diana's ring in public, as a symbol of remembrance and continuity. The third moment was Camilla's presence at Charles and Diana's wedding. Diana later said she knew Camilla was there and looked for her in the cathedral. That detail has haunted the public imagination for decades. The whole world was watching Diana become Princess of Wales, but Diana herself was aware of the woman who already held a place in Charles's heart. It turned what looked like a royal celebration into something much more painful beneath the surface. Today, Diana has a permanent presence of her own at Kensington Palace through the statue unveiled by William and Harry. That statue stands in the garden, surrounded by flowers and memory, and it gives Diana a place that cannot be pushed out by palace messaging. Camilla may have attended the wedding in 1981, but Diana now stands in bronze on the grounds connected to her sons and her legacy. The fourth act was the honeymoon. Diana later described finding photographs of Camilla among Charles's personal belongings, along with gifts connected to Camilla that he continued to wear. For any new bride, that would be heartbreaking. For Diana, who had just married into the most watched family in the world, it reinforced the feeling that she was sharing her marriage before it had even had a chance to begin. That is one reason William's handling of Diana's memory feels so deliberate to many people. He keeps her photographs in his home. His children know her as Granny Diana. Her memory is not hidden in a drawer or trapped in old headlines. It is part of his family life, spoken about and seen by the next generation. What hurt Diana in private has been answered by William, making her presence public and permanent in his own household. The fifth act was the private world Charles and Camilla shared. The nicknames, the private jokes, the coded language, and the emotional intimacy created a space Diana could not enter. She found evidence of that world before the wedding and during the marriage. That kind of exclusion can be more painful than public humiliation because it tells a person they're on the outside of their own relationship. William has created a very different private world around Diana's name. In his home, Diana is not treated like a scandal to manage. She is a grandmother his children know about. Her name is carried by Princess Charlotte. Her ring is worn by Catherine. Her causes are carried forward. The private language that once excluded Diana has been replaced by a family memory that includes her. The sixth act involved Highgrove, the country home so closely associated with Charles. Royal accounts have described Camilla as a regular presence in Charles's country life during the years Diana felt isolated in London. For Diana, Highgrove was not simply a house. It represented a part of Charles's world where she felt another woman had more access than she did. That is why the estate still carries emotional meaning in the Diana and Camilla conversation. Today, Highgrove has another layer of symbolism because it sits within the Duchy of Cornwall, now controlled by William. Charles may have built the gardens and shaped the home, but the estate structure belongs to the duchy that passed to Diana's son when Charles became king. That detail has become one of the most discussed examples of how the future royal power now sits with William. The seventh act was the infamous intercepted phone call between Charles and Camilla. The recording became one of the most embarrassing royal scandals of the 1990s, and it confirmed to the public what Diana had already known privately. The conversation was intimate, damaging, and impossible to fully erase. Even decades later, it remains part of the public record and continues to be revisited through documentaries, dramas, and royal discussions. For Diana, the tape was another humiliation. For Camilla, it became part of the public history she could never completely escape. And for William, who grew up under the shadow of those headlines, it was one more chapter in the story of what his mother endured. No coronation can erase that from history. The eighth act was Diana's direct confrontation with Camilla at a party in 1989. Diana later described telling Camilla that she knew what was happening between her and Charles. The most remembered line from that confrontation is Diana saying she wanted her husband. Those words remain powerful because they are painfully simple. Diana was not asking for status, glamour, or sympathy. She was asking for the marriage she had been promised. That moment still resonates because it showed Diana trying to fight for her place face to face. She was young, wounded, and surrounded by a system that often made her feel isolated. Decades later, many people see William and Catherine's marriage as the kind of united public partnership Diana never received. William has chosen his wife openly, consistently, and visibly, and that contrast keeps Diana's pain alive in the public mind. The ninth act was the public celebration of Camilla's 50th birthday at Highgrove in 1997, only weeks before Diana's death. That timing has become one of the most uncomfortable details in the public timeline. Camilla was being more openly accepted into Charles's world, while Diana was still a living presence in the public imagination. Then, within weeks, Diana was gone. Years later, William and Harry marked what would have been Diana's 60th birthday by unveiling her statue at Kensington Palace. That contrast is sharp. Camilla had a party that became a passing royal headline. Diana received a permanent memorial created by her sons. The public memory is not equal, and that matters in the way people continue to compare them. The 10th act concerns Diana's mental health struggles, especially her battle with bulimia. Diana connected her illness to the emotional pressure and pain she felt inside the marriage. She described it as a cry for help at a time when she felt trapped, unseen, and deeply hurt. The knowledge of Charles and Camilla's ongoing connection contributed to the anguish she later spoke about so openly. William has turned mental health into one of the most important public conversations of his generation. Through Heads Together and related work, he helped bring emotional struggle into the open in a way that feels closely connected to Diana's own honesty. Diana suffered privately while trying to smile publicly. William has helped make that kind of pain something people can discuss without shame. The 11th act was Charles's public confession in the 1994 television interview. When asked whether he had been faithful to Diana, Charles gave an answer that confirmed the marriage had broken down and that infidelity had occurred. The interview changed everything. It moved the issue from whispered gossip into official public knowledge. Diana was still alive, and the entire country now had confirmation of what she had been living with. Years later, William used the same power of television very differently. Instead of defending Charles, he honored Diana. His documentary about his mother focused on her life, her legacy, and the memories he and Harry carried. The cameras that once helped expose the collapse of Diana's marriage later became a tool for her sons to protect her image. The 12th act was the long rehabilitation campaign around Camilla after Diana's death. The public had deeply negative feelings toward Camilla for years, and Charles's team worked carefully to reintroduce her. There were managed appearances, softer photographs, public outings, charity work, and gradual steps toward acceptance. The campaign worked inside the institution, but public feeling has always remained more complicated. That is why approval numbers continue to matter. Camilla became queen, but public affection never reached the level Diana held. The palace could change titles and manage ceremonies, but it could not force the country to feel the same emotional connection. Diana did not need a rehabilitation plan. Her connection with the public was immediate and lasting. The 13th act was the broken expectation around Camilla's future title. When Charles and Camilla married, the public was told she would one day be known as princess consort rather than queen. That wording helped calm public anger because many people still felt Diana's absence strongly. But over time, that position changed. Queen Elizabeth II expressed her wish that Camilla be known as Queen Consort, and by the coronation, the simpler title Queen Camilla was being used. For Diana supporters, that felt like a promise being rewritten. It suggested that the institution had waited until enough time had passed before giving Camilla the title many once believed she would never use. But the title still depends on Charles's reign. When William becomes king, he will control the tone of the next chapter, and Camilla's role will change again. The 14th act was the wedding itself in 2005. Charles and Camilla married in a civil ceremony at Windsor Guildhall, with a blessing afterward. The ceremony was carefully handled because the situation remained sensitive. Queen Elizabeth II did not attend the civil ceremony, which many royal watchers still see as a powerful sign of the complicated feelings around the marriage at the time. Camilla did eventually become Charles's wife, and later queen, but the route was never simple. The public did not forget Diana. The family did not treat the moment like a normal royal wedding. Everything around it carried the weight of what had come before. The 15th act was Camilla's long path to the title of queen. For years, her public identity was managed carefully as Duchess of Cornwall, but the direction was always moving toward greater acceptance. The final shift came when the late queen gave her public support for Camilla to be known as Queen Consort. That moment opened the door to the coronation image the world later saw. But William's future reign changes the balance. Camilla's title came through Charles. William's authority comes through the crown. That means the future is not in Camilla's hands. When the reign changes, the public focus moves to William and Catherine, and Diana's memory moves with them. The 16th act, often discussed, is Camilla's lack of a public apology. Over decades, there has never been a widely recognized public moment where Camilla directly addressed Diana's pain in a way that satisfied Diana supporters. Some may argue that silence was necessary for royal dignity, while others see it as avoidance. Either way, the absence of public acknowledgement has kept the wound open for many people. Harry's memoir and interviews broke that silence from another direction. He spoke about Camilla in harsh terms and linked her public image to his family's pain. Whether people supported Harry or criticized him, his words reignited the conversation and reminded the world that Diana's sons still carry scars from that period. The 17th act is the idea that Camilla's public role grew in the space left after Diana's death. After 1997, Diana was no longer there to dominate public attention, charity headlines, fashion pages, or emotional royal coverage. Camilla's image could be rebuilt more easily because the woman people compared her to was gone. That is a painful but central part of the public debate. However, Diana's absence did not last in the way the palace may have expected. Her memory returned through William, through Catherine, through their children, through charity work, through documentaries, and through social media. Diana may not be physically present, but her influence is now deeply embedded in the future monarchy. The 18th act is Camilla taking Diana's place in the institution. She now sits where Diana once sat, stands where Diana once stood, and attends the events Diana might have attended had life turned out differently. State dinners, public ceremonies, royal tours, and national moments all place Camilla in a role that many still associate emotionally with Diana. But the future brings another replacement. Catherine will one day take Camilla's place as queen beside William. And Catherine carries Diana's ring, Diana's title, and Diana's public sympathy in a way that makes the handover feel even more symbolic. The 19th act is Camilla wearing the crown Diana was never given. Diana died without becoming queen. She lost her HRH after the divorce and never lived to see her son become king. Camilla, by contrast, was crowned beside Charles at Westminster Abbey. For many royal watchers, that remains the most difficult image of all. Camilla receiving the ultimate royal title, while Diana's memory still dominates the emotional conversation. Yet the crown did not end the debate. It may have intensified it. Every time Camilla is seen as queen, Diana supporters remember the woman who never reached that position but remains more loved by millions. The title changed Camilla's status, but it did not rewrite public emotion. The 20th and final act belongs to Diana herself. She documented her truth. She recorded tapes for Andrew Morton. She gave the Panorama interview. She spoke to friends, confidants, and journalists. She made sure her side of the marriage existed in the public record. Whatever people think of the methods or the consequences, the result is undeniable. Diana's voice survived. That is the one thing no palace campaign can fully defeat. Diana told the public what she felt, what she saw, and what she endured. Her words became part of royal history, and those words passed emotionally to her sons. William carries that history in his choices, in the way he honors her, in the causes he supports, in the home he built, in the names he chose, and in the symbols he placed around Catherine and his children. In the end, these 20 acts are not just old royal drama. They are the emotional foundation of why Diana remains so powerful in the public imagination, and why Camilla still faces resistance, even as queen. The affair, the bracelet, the wedding, the honeymoon pain, the private world, the Highgrove weekends, the phone call, the confrontation, the birthday party, the illness, the televised confession, the image campaign, the broken title expectation, the wedding, the lobbying, the silence, the use of Diana's absence, the seat Camilla took, the crown Diana never wore, and Diana's own documentation all form one long record. Camilla may be queen today, but Diana's account of what happened continues to shape the future through William. The past did not disappear. It moved into the next generation. And as William prepares for the crown, Diana's memory remains one of the strongest forces around him.